Did you know that there's an estimated 20.9 million victims of human trafficking worldwide? Of those 20.9 million, 68 are forced into it, 26% are children, 55% are female, and Minnesota is ranked 13th in the United States for human trafficking. I heard about this issue from a friend who's very passionate about sex trafficking specifically. She brought me to Stands for Justice and 5Ks for awareness. Since then, I've written my own papers, and I have done a lot of my own research. Human trafficking is a huge problem in today's world, and it's a growing one at that. It's going to take a lot of effort to stop it, but through raising awareness, funding anti-human trafficking programs such as Shared Hope International, International Justice Mission, and the Polaris Project, and through prayer, we can eventually bring an end to this modern-day slavery. In this speech, I'll address the severity of human trafficking and inform you on what is being done to stop it and how we can help. Human trafficking is a $150 billion industry and growing. It's the modern-day form of slavery. There is labor trafficking, sex trafficking, and child exploitation. It's defined as a loss of freedom or when somebody is forced into a trade that they don't want to be in. Trafficking doesn't just happen on the other side of the world, but in our backyard as well. This picture shows the severity of human trafficking in the United States, and the red dots are the most severe. And as you can see, Minneapolis and St. Paul have a red dot on them. So how do we know human trafficking when we see it? Well, for one, victims will not speak for themselves, and they'll usually speak through a pimp. They won't handle their own money. They will have psychological issues, no forms of ID, and they will lack proper health care. More signs can be found about it on anti-trafficking sites like the Polaris Project. Lives are destroyed because of human trafficking. 2 million children are forced into labor or sex trafficking and have lost all hope of a normal life. For example, Keisha is a 16-year-old originally from Florida due to sexual harassment. After she ran away, she met a 26-year-old man who went by the name of Master D. He promised to care for her and bring her back to her biological family. Once they got back to Florida, he sold her into prostitution to pay for the expenses of the trip. After the expenses of the trip were paid for, he abused her and threatened her to stay in prostitution. After a while, she was arrested for solicitation and was returned to the same foster family. She ran away once again and called Master D with nowhere else to go. She was once again sold into prostitution and arrested after that, and then came into contact with a Polaris social worker who got her a restraining order on Master D and allowed her into a residential program for girls that were rescued from sex trafficking. She's almost done with the program now and is currently getting her GED. As stated before, around 21 million people are forced into human trafficking around the world. It's the second biggest crime industry in the world behind drug trafficking and is the fastest growing industry. The average age for people to enter into sex trafficking is 14 to 16 years old. 2 million children are trafficked each year. In the U.S., from 2008 to 2010, 83% of sex trafficked victims were from the U.S. Situations are constantly coming up to show the severity of human trafficking. In 2015, IJM, or International Justice Mission, invested a case in which kids as young as 6 years old in Cambodia were exploited and sold for sex. Local pimps sold the children for as low as $30. IJM's president and CEO, Gary Haugen, commented on the case, saying, "We have seen many situations of forced prostitution and sex slavery, all horrific, but none as terribly brutal and gut-wrenching as this. Lives are ruined, families are separated, and hope is taken away from anyone that's stuck in the human trafficking industry." So how do we bring an end to situations like the one that IJM uncovered in Cambodia? Through 3 simple steps: inform, donate, and pray. The major key is knowledge. Once people know about it, they can share what they learned with others and donate to the cause. Spreading the word can be done in many ways. Organizations like IJM or Shared Hope International assist in raising awareness. You can have get-togethers to watch documentaries on it, host races, have speakers in classes, or just talk to those around you about it. Organizations can send out speakers on the topic if contacted to gatherings or events. You can also contact local legislatures or write a letter to Congress informing them that you think the problem deserves to be addressed. There are different policy, actions, bills, and campaigns that are going around to stop human trafficking all around the world. The next step could be to donate. Organizations need funding to support anti-trafficking. They will teach, train, prepare, and bring justice to victims. Money is needed to perform rescue missions for victims, and it can't be done without donations from everyday people like us. The cost for an IJM mission is $10,000. Last year, our church youth group raised enough money for IJM to perform a rescue mission for 2 girls and put them through the additional help after they had been rescued. We called the fundraiser Loose Change to Loosen Chains, and people gave whatever loose change they had and donated it to IJM, and within a number of weeks we met our goal. The last step is to pray. A pastor at my church, Dave Gibson, says, "No prayer, no power, little prayer, little power, much prayer, much power." Prayer is the most powerful tool we can use, and it can work miracles. Ideally, we would like to see a complete end to human trafficking. It destroys lives and takes away hopes, and bringing an end to trafficking will help fix all of that. IJM is wanting to see an end to trafficking within this century, and more ambitiously, this generation. Over 14 years, child exploitation has gone down 2.2%, and they're hoping to see that percentage increase. Bringing an end to human trafficking restores lives and creates a safer environment for children and adults. Around 21 million people are sold into trafficking, and it is the second biggest crime industry in the world. Through awareness, donations, and prayer, we can bring an end to the exploitation of human beings in this century. Human trafficking is a big problem, but luckily we serve a big God in which no problem is too big for him to handle.
Very nice.
Any advice?
I liked how you used a personal story of Keisha and kind of told her story. I liked hearing about that.
Mm-hmm.
And I also liked the visual.
Yeah.
That's not a critique.
Yeah, it was. That was a good thing.
A good critique. You need a little more voice inflection.
Okay.
Perfect.
Good
Thank
job.
you.